Hi, I'm Rob with the Rob Jensen Company. What is an appraisal and when is it a good idea? An appraisal is done by a licensed appraiser, and it's an opinion of value at a specific time for a specific property. There are three problems that are quite common when it comes to pricing and negotiating deals in real estate. For starters, with all the real estate websites that are out there, buyers have easy access to information, and so commonly buyers become armchair experts and come up with their own price and their own idea of what your home is worth. Problem number two, maybe there's just not a lot of data for a home like yours. Custom homes and specific lots and views and amenities, especially in the higher price points, there's thinner sales markets, and to try and pull the right comps and the right data to support your sales price can require a skilled practitioner in terms of pricing and upholding that price. And the third, not all appraisers are equal, just like not all agents are equal. When a buyer is getting a loan, their lender is going to require that the buyer get an appraisal done. And so the bank is going to send one of their appraisers to the house to appraise it. And the bank will only loan on that appraised value. So if the buyer is going to buy a house for $1 million and the bank requires they have to put down 20%, well, it's an 80% loan to value. So if the purchase is $1 million, then the buyer's hoping that it appraises for $1 million, because the bank will then loan the 80% off the $1 million, which will be $800,000, and they'll come up with the balance of the down payment at $200K. Now, if for some reason that appraisal comes in less, let's say the appraisal comes in at, the purchase is $1 million and the appraisal comes in at $900. Okay, well, the bank will only loan 80% on the $900. So that's now $720,000. So now the buyer has to not only come up with the $200, but also that extra $80. So now they got to come out of pocket with more money. And in scenarios where the buyer is putting a big down payment, maybe 30, 40, 50%, it's common where a seller might think, oh, they're putting down plenty, the appraisal really doesn't matter, because they could maybe just sort of readjust, or they've got the extra money to come out of pocket. So it doesn't matter in the sense that, hey, they might still have the money to buy the house, but it does matter in a big way, because if that appraisal comes in below value, then it's a red flag for the buyer. The buyer all of a sudden does not want to feel like the schmuck that overpaid for their house because it appraised for, $900 and they're now paying $1 million. So all three of these scenarios could potentially benefit from an appraisal. An appraisal is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Not every home should get appraised before it goes on the market. But do consider this. If you've got a very unique property, consider having an appraisal done. We had one home that had a huge remodel, but it was above all the recent sales in the neighborhood because it was fully remodeled. It wasn't a 20-year-old home. It was a brand new home. It just kind of looked 20 years old from the outside, but the inside was as custom as it could be. So buyers really wanted to buy it, but they had a hard time supporting the price. We got an appraisal done. We were able to share that with the buyers. They felt comfortable pulling the trigger and paying for the house. We've had a deal recently where we went into contract at $1,350,000. We were priced in the upper 1.3 range, and we went into contract at 1.35, and the buyer's appraisal came in at 1.3. Well, this house had upwards of $400,000 in upgrades, and upon reviewing of that appraisal, we found that there were some adjustments that weren't exactly fair and taken into this account. So the seller paid for a second appraisal. The first appraisal came from the bank and the buyer's lender. Seller paid for a second opinion, and this appraisal came in at $1,370,000 because the value was easily there and supported. So with that appraisal in hand, the buyer felt comfortable then coming out of pocket and paying the $135,000. See, something you just got to keep in mind, that just because you sell your home and it gets into contract at a price, if the buyer's getting a loan, that appraiser could come along and still ruin the whole deal. So I specialize in these kind of unique situations and making sure that not only do we sell at the highest price, but the deal closes at the highest price. If you have any more questions and want to know if this might be right for you before placing your home on the market, reach out, let me know, and I'd be happy to chat.